After having designed hundreds of websites over the last 10 years, I found that there's actually 4 visual categories that set apart websites that perform really well from websites that don't perform at all. And yes, there's other nuances and there's other skill sets and there's other categories related to website design and website strategy. But from a visual perspective, these are the 4 categories that make it or break it in terms of great website design. Hey, if we haven't met yet, my name is Brandon. I own a creative agency called Richie Creative, and essentially we help great organizations build websites that actually get results, and we help creative individuals build agencies and creative businesses that are more profitable with less stress and less friction. Okay, so the first of these 4 visual categories in terms of great website design and great website strategy is actually layout. And the first thing that you need to identify in terms of layout is what is your Cinderella's castle? Now you're probably wondering, what the heck does Cinderella have to do with website design or website strategy? So if you've ever been to Disney World, you know that Cinderella's castle is strategically placed so that any person, whether they're wanting to go to some of the restaurants, whether they're wanting to go to some of the other parts of the theme park, some of the other experiences, they're going to walk down the main street, and the first thing they're going to lock eyes on is Cinderella's castle. It's strategically placed so that before you veer off on any other road or any other street to experience any other exhibit or any other experience, you're going to see it, you're going to lock eyes on it. And so for your website design, what's your Cinderella's castle? What's the thing that people are going to lock eyes on first? Well, regardless of where people are coming from, whether they're coming from a link on social media, from a QR code, if somebody is texting them a link, they're going to click it and they're going to land in the above the fold section of your homepage. This is the very top of the homepage before you even have to scroll one time. And this above the fold section, it's super important because it's the first thing that anybody sees before they go to your services page, before they go to the get a free quote page. They're going to land right here in this above the fold section. A lot of people, however, don't optimize this section. They put a picture and that's it. There's no copy, there's no text, or there's no calls to action that are pointing people in the right direction. But because this is the Cinderella's castle for your website, we need to optimize it. And so we're going to kind of break down some of the things in terms of a layout for this above the fold section of your website. Some things you want to make sure that you're including in order to get the most return on investment and the highest ROI out of your website. So in terms of layout, the first thing in this above the fold section you want to make sure that you're including is a photo of happy, smiling people. If you're a business that's selling t-shirts, it's very common for these type of product-based business owners to put a picture of their product, a picture of their t-shirt. Maybe it's a t-shirt folded on a couch, but instead of just the product itself, we recommend having a happy, smiling person wearing the t-shirt, wearing the product, using the product. If you're a toothbrush company, have a beautiful, happy, smiling person holding your toothbrush with pearly white teeth. Number one, it's going to elicit an emotional response. If you're a church, this might look like having happy, smiling people in a connect group or in a Sunday school class. If you're a nonprofit, maybe it's happy, smiling people that you're actually assisting and actually helping. Or maybe it's volunteers that are happy because they're actually making a difference and getting involved in something bigger than themselves. Regardless, you don't want to have just a picture of your church steeple. You don't want to have just a picture of your product. You don't want to have a picture of just an aerial shot of your community. You want to have a picture of actual humans. People connect with pictures of people. So again, happy, smiling people right here in this above the fold section. That's the first thing we recommend in terms of layout for the above the fold section of your homepage. The second thing in terms of a layout that you want to make sure you're including in this above the fold section is a clear and compelling clarity statement. If somebody just sees the happy smiling person, well, it might elicit an emotional response from them, but they're not going to know what your business is all about or what your nonprofit is all about or how your church could actually benefit them. But you can resolve this tension by including a clear and compelling clarity statement in this above the fold section of your homepage. We recommend answering 3 questions with this clarity statement. Maybe it's 1 sentence, maybe it's 2 sentences, but essentially we're answering the questions: who are you? What do you do? And how are you actually making somebody's life better? Somebody should not have to scroll all the way down your homepage or even into the next following sections of your homepage without first knowing what kind of business, what kind of nonprofit, what kind of church you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it, how it's actually going to make their life better if they interact and partner with your brand. And the third element in terms of layout for this above the fold section of your homepage is calls to action buttons. You need to have calls to action really anywhere as you're scrolling down the different sections of your homepage, but there's 2 spots that carry the most weight in terms of practical and strategic places to put a call to action on a website. The number 1 spot where your eye naturally gravitates toward when you're ready to make a decision on a website is top right corner. That's a great spot for a shop now or a buy now or a request a free quote. Or if you're a church, maybe it's plan a visit. Or if you're a nonprofit, maybe it's volunteer or donate now. But you need to have an intentional call to action. It's an obvious button to push. The eye goes to the top right corner because if you were on an e-commerce website ready to purchase some new sneakers, you're going to look look for the cart or look for the shop icon in the top right corner. So you want to make sure that you're including a good, clear call to action in the top right corner of your website. But the other spot in terms of layout that is very important to have a call to action is right underneath your clarity statement. So this could be, again, shop now, buy now, get a free quote. But again, the photo that we just talked about elicits the emotional response from somebody. They see themselves in that photo. The clarity statement tells somebody exactly who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And the call to action is basically saying, hey, now that we've piqued your interest and you know exactly who we are and what we do, here's how you can take the first step. Click this button. Okay, so we talked about the first visual category that we recommend really leaning into in terms of website design, which is layout. But the second one is really important as well, and this is typography. And more specifically, what kinds of fonts you're using on your website. So you can have really great messaging, super clear, super compelling. The actual words that you're writing could be very effective, but if they don't look the right way, they might not be conveying what you want to actually convey. So think of the fonts that you're using on your website as your message's wardrobe. Yes, you want to have a good message, but you want to make sure that you're actually clothing it and displaying it in the appropriate way. For example, a daycare is going to use very different typefaces and fonts than a law firm, and rightfully so. A law firm needs to feel sophisticated. It needs to be something that when somebody's reading the messaging and reading the copy on the website, they feel, okay, this is a reputable brand that I can trust. A daycare, on the other hand, doesn't need to necessarily feel prestigious or academic or liturgical. It needs to feel fun. It can't feel boring. And so they're going to be using playful fonts that actually show that this is a place where a kid can be a kid. This is a place where you can have the time of your life. So there are lots of different categories of typefaces and fonts. There are serif fonts, which again can feel a little bit more liturgical, a little bit more academic. There are sans serif fonts, which can feel modern and clean and sleek. There are slab serif fonts. There are cursive fonts and script fonts. But one big trap that a lot of website designers or even just individuals who are building websites make is they're choosing fonts that they like. They like the look of it. They like how it makes them feel, but they're not actually choosing the fonts that are actually communicating the right thing about their message for their audience in their particular niche or their particular industry. So again, it's less about which fonts do you resonate with and more about which fonts will your audience and your website visitor resonate with. The other big mistake that we see people make all the time in terms of fonts and typefaces on their website is there's no visual hierarchy. Everything looks exactly the same. You need to have a heading 1, a heading 2, a heading 3, and body text. You need to have at least 3 or 4 different font stylings. Otherwise, your audience's eyes are going to glaze over. They're not going to know where to look first. They're not going to know what's the important text and which is kind of the less important text. So again, typically heading 1s are bigger and bolder. Heading 2 is a little bit smaller. Heading 3 is even more small. And of course, the paragraph text is just very readable. So typically paragraph text wouldn't be script. It wouldn't be cursive. It wouldn't be anything that is super complicated to read, but a very readable font. Something like Times New Roman if you're wanting to go for more of a serif look and feel, or if you're wanting to go with more of a sans serif look and feel, there's great options like Gotham or Sarah Pro, or even something like Poppins. Okay, so moving on to the third visual category here for great website design. So again, we talked about layout. We talked about typeface or fonts. The third one here is color. So quick story here. When my wife and I first bought our home, the previous owner had painted the shutters this kind of dark, deep burgundy, and the rest of the house was basically this very muddy, bluish green. And the colors just did not go well at all. And so we decided to repaint the whole house. We didn't want to hire a painter, so we did it ourselves. And it was the first time that either of us had ever painted an entire house. And so lots of work, lots of learning curves. But when it was finished, we really liked the end result. The whole house itself was kind of a light gray and the shutters were all white. And just that change of colors changed our entire perception of the home, what we thought about it, how we felt about it. And for your website, colors are crucial because they're going to convey something not only to you and to your team, but also to your audience and to website visitors that are seeing your website and interacting with your brand for the very first time. One really good industry-specific example of this would be fast food restaurants. How many fast food restaurants can you name and can you think of that use the colors red and yellow or red and orange? There's Arby's, there's Hardee's, there's Burger King, there's Wendy's, there's McDonald's. And the reason that they do this is because the red gives people a sense of urgency that they need to act now. They need something quick. They need something fast. And the yellow stimulates hunger. It's an optimistic color that makes somebody think, okay, this is going to actually satisfy me and make me happy. So you have a really happy color. You have a very act now and fast color. So the red and yellow combination makes total sense and is perfect for fast food restaurants. Another industry specific example would be financial institutions or banks. They often are using shades of blue in their logo and on their website because blue is known to be a trustworthy color. So there's so many different colors. But again, take some time, pause, take a deep breath, and actually do some market research, look at other people in your industry, and really think through what are these colors actually saying about my brand. Okay, so we've covered layout, we've covered fonts and typography, we've covered color. And the fourth and the final one that we're going to talk about in this video, which is a huge one, it might actually be more important than some of the other ones, is the right kinds of photos in the right spots on your homepage. And yes, you want your photos to look professional. If you can hire a professional photographer, or if you can invest in a good camera and take some really good product photos and people photos, that's great. But I will say this, because we live in the age of artificial intelligence, people are used to seeing perfect. They're used to seeing pristine. There's almost something a little bit reassuring and nice about seeing a mistake here and there. And so for your photos, maybe it's a little bit blurry. That's okay. Maybe it's not taken with the best DSLR camera that you can get on the market. Maybe it's taken with your iPhone or something like that. I think that's okay. Again, people are used to reading perfect things written by AI. If I see a little bit of a typo or like a comma splice or something like that as I'm reading somebody's copy, I'm actually a little bit more intrigued because I'm thinking, okay, this came out of a real human brain. So for photos, it's no different. People don't want to interact with robots. They want to interact with actual people. And because we live in the AI revolution, I would just recommend have people all over your website. Have them on your about page, have them on your FAQ page, your contact page, your donate page, whatever pages you're building for your website. Never underestimate the power of photos. But again, like we talked about in the layout portion of this video, people connect with pictures of people. The big reason I wanted to highlight these 4 specific areas of website design in terms of layout, typeface, color, and photo is because these are the 4 that I see people get wrong all the time. The wrong kinds of photos or the wrong colors or the wrong fonts. Or in terms of layout, there's no clarity. People don't know who you are, what you do, or why you do it. And there's really no calls to action anywhere on a website. Well, hopefully this was a helpful video just looking at an overview of those 4 different categories of visual website design. If you want to take a deep dive in website design and website strategy, I'd recommend getting my new book, The Website Strategy Roadmap. We talk through website planning, website goal setting, website messaging, website marketing, and how to create really great experiences for your website visitor so people don't get bored, distracted, check out, or go somewhere else, but instead they're actually taking action on your website. You can get your copy of The Website Strategy Roadmap at websitestrategyroadmap.com. I also just want to say a quick thank you to everybody who watches these videos and is subscribed to the channel. It means a ton to me personally, so thank you so much. Remember, you can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have. Stay creative, and we'll catch you next time.